Hello everyone, and this is DaseinWasHere today, and we'll be talking about tips, tricks, and tactics concerning the TDS Persecutor. The TDS Persecutor is a medium assault craft that is a close-range assault vessel. The Persecutor's primary weapon is Rail Repeater. This is a unique weapon in Fracture Space, being as it uses the magazine system. This is a really cool system for the Persecutor, being as it has a lot of options. Its primary weapon fires off quite a bit of rounds in a very, very short time, but you have to be really close to it. Think about it as a giant space shotgun. Yes, it has an optimal range of 6,000 clicks, but keep in mind, just because it has that nice range does not mean that you should be firing it at that. You need to be close enough that you are hitting all of your rounds onto that ship, because that's where your DPS comes from. You can fire off a lot of rounds really, really fast, but keep in mind you have a magazine. Once you run out of rounds, your DPS drops like a rock, which is why you have to plan your engagements carefully. Either only engage single targets or treat this as kind of an assassin. Basically, while your team's fighting, go in and nuke that target as fast as you can. But you'll have to remember that your primary weapon will run out of ammo very quickly. Thus, once you nuke a target, you're going to need to get out of there and recharge and then go back in the fight. The magazine system also affects which ships you can attack effectively, being as you will run out of ammo very quickly on a heavy before it dies. Thus, you will attack a heavy, get it really, really low, but then you have to slowly peck it down, which means you are going to take damage during that time. Thus, heavies are not your ideal target. You don't want to take out something that is low to mid health, so lights and mediums. Thus, avoid the heavies if you can. The last thing to note is the ammo system on this really will limit how long you can be in a fight, because prolonged engagements are your worst enemy. The longer you're in a fight, the weaker you become because your DPS drops. Thus, you really need to save your blinks to get in and get out really, really quickly, because once you're in that fight, and if it lasts longer than you have ammo, your chances of survival have gone down dramatically. Your second ability is Magazine Blink. Magazine Blink is absolutely amazing. Think about having Quick Blink on the Hunter, usable 3 times. Thus, you are able to really move around in a fight. This allows you to dodge harpoons, get around firing arcs, and do a lot of cool things. The downside is, if you blow your entire wad early on, you are not going to have an escape mechanism or the maneuverability that you can have, because this ship is not the most maneuverable ship. An Enforcer is a lot more maneuverable, but the Blink allows you to do things that a lot of ships can't, and basically move around the fight, get close, nuke your target, move behind cover, move out of firing arcs. It does a lot of cool things and is the bane of many ships. Thus, you'll need to use it wisely, because if you do not use it wisely, you're going to be waiting for its really, really long cooldown to charge all of its charges back up. Besides Magazine Blink, you have several other unique abilities which allow you to kill your prey. Your first one being Mobility Suppression. Mobility Suppression is absolutely amazing, being as it's this nice AoE ability that stops blinks and boosts from happening. Thus, you are able to sit there, blink to your target, pop that off, and kill your target because he can't run away. But keeping in mind that once you pop that, you are committed to that fight. You are fully committed to that fight, being as it shuts down your blinks as well. Thus, you two are there for the long haul, or how many enemies there are. Thus, you need to use that carefully, being as it can hurt you as much as it hurts your opponents. For your second ability, you're going to have Energy Leech Beam. This is not a energy leech like the Raven, which you hit your target and you're draining a lot of energy. But this particular one, you hit your target, you drain a little bit of energy, so not that much, but you're going to get 300 times the amount of energy back, which is very important for a vessel that uses a lot of energy, because you have your blinks, you have your other abilities, as well as you have point defense. Thus, you're going to need this ability if you plan on surviving in any sort of combat. It is important to note with Energy Leech Beam that Energy Leech Beam requires energy to use. Thus, before you can get energy back, you have to spend energy. This is extremely important, being as you will need to use it before you hit low energy, or you're not going to get enough energy back to sustain your abilities and point defense. And for your final ability, you have a AoE nuke called Fusion Charge. What Fusion Charge is a 5k AoE damage blast radius weapon, which you drop out the end of your ship. You drop it out the end of your ship, it takes a few seconds to arm, and then it goes off. It is important to note that you have to have blink when you use this ability, because if you get hit by fusion charge, you're going to be concussed. And a ship that is so dependent on abilities, getting concussed is a big deal, and you'll not be able to escape. Also, you have to be very careful in your planning so you actually hit the enemies, because you can hit an entire team worth of enemies with this ability, but you have to time it right, being as it takes a while to come out of your ship after you hit the button, and then it takes a while to arm and detonate after it comes out of your ship. Now for some tactics. When using the Persecutor, it is important to note that your magazine is finite. Thus, you're probably going to be treating this more like an assassin than a frontline assault vessel. You're going to be trying to pick out your weak targets or targets that need to go down, go in there, take them out, get out, wait for your ammo to recharge, and then go back into a fight. Thus, it is very important to be with your allies. The Persecutor works really well with hunters because hunters have blinks and they can keep up with you. Thus, they have the sustained damage that is necessary to allow you to pull out for a few seconds, go back in, or they can break armor for you and you are even more devastating with your burst weapon. It's important to remember when flying the Persecutor that it is not the most maneuverable of vessels, nor is it the fastest of vessels. Thus, you're really going to have to plan out your engagements ahead of time. You're going to have to remember to use cover to close gaps. You're going to have to remember to wait till the enemies engaged before you use your blinks, because your blinks are great for dodging things, getting out of fights, but you really don't want to blow your blinks all in one wad. Thus, you're really going to have to plan out your approach on the way in, or you're going to die very quickly. When playing the Persecutor, you have two upgrade paths you can go down, and it is important to note the situation of the battle at the time. You can either go down the attack tree or your utility tree. The attack tree really is nice when it comes to decreasing the time you're without ammo once you've blown your magazine, but the utility tree really is nice for increasing your mobility, being as you're so dependent on not just your abilities, but the blink. Thus, having your blink more often is very useful, so you'll have to weigh the situation at the time in the battle for which tree you go down. If you're against a really mobile comp and you need your blink more, grab the utility tree. But if you're running out of your ammo because you're facing a team that is very entrenched and there's some really long fights, then go down the attack tree to make up for that. But you're going to have to make the call depending on the situation at hand. In short, you'll need to use your abilities wisely. You'll need to keep in mind not to blow your blink all in one wad, and if you do, remember that you will be vulnerable for a period of time, as well as you'll need to avoid prolonged fights due to the reload time of your primary weapon. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and please remember to like and subscribe, and take care.